Alright, so we've got our Windows form, and over here on the right hand side you'll see all of the resources, really all of the variables associated with the controls for the well, they're not really variables, they're more like handles. This one here I've actually forgotten to change that one, so that'll probably be this one here. That handle will get used for values and for attributes when you're changing those. I've given them prefixes to do with their values if they have values though. So constant name is going to be potentiometer resistance or not. I guess it doesn't like really big names. I don't think I've come across that before. I guess if I change that one, I'll have to change these ones. Oops. Voltage. Alright, so that's alright. Still checking that I did change the value to float. Yeah, I did. Okay. Okay. So that's our dialog window. I'll just save that. For controls like the open button, close button, actually this is a bit odd. I guess I'll show you both ways here. The open button, we need a callback for our on open COM port pressed, and we'll also need it for each of these buttons. I'm not sure, but I kind of feel like there should be a way to enumerate those, and I'm not going to, but probably even if this creates 5 different callbacks, it probably would make more sense for each of those callbacks to be calling one single function. But I'm not going to do that. Just as an aside. I'll just do some cutting and pasting, which is not the best practice, but just want to show you some features. Okay, so we've still only got these two. We need these callback functions to be made. And I'll just show you that again. While I'm in the C, that code menu doesn't appear while I'm in the designer. The code option appears, and I can create callbacks that haven't been made. It might ask me about callbacks that have already been. Okay, so this function already exists, so we're going to skip it. And it's created one for open COM port pressed, one for closed COM port pressed. That didn't happen the last time. The last time I did this, it didn't want to create it because it was dimmed. So that's what I was going to show you. If that does happen, just undim it in the designer, and then have it create the callbacks, and then dim it again in the controls. That works fine. So we've got all those. In each of these, again, the event is passed in because there's only one callback, but there might be a number of reasons why the callback was called. So in that case, there's a switch case, and the cases are the events. In this case, event commit is basically the button has been pressed. We need to do some comport stuff. What I'd like to do is when the open button gets pressed, we'll open the comport, try to open the comport, and if we're allowed to open the comport, we'll dim the open button and enable the close button until the close button is pressed, and then we'll do the opposite, dim the close button, and well, if we can successfully close the comport, we'll dim the close button and enable the open button again. So we'll do a little bit of that. Again, down here in this little sort of function help window, which is of limited usefulness, there's one here called the RS-232 library. Open config is the one that I'll use here, and there's some other bits and pieces that we have to add into our open comport pressed function to make all this work, but just have a look at the help. And there's some links to some examples, but I'm just going to grab the prototype and yeah, I'll just grab the prototype. Just copy that and I'll paste it in here. Alright. We want to keep track of the port number, and we're going to have to grab the port number from the dialog screen, the port number that's been selected in the list box. But just up here I'll create a opened comport and as a local I can have the selected comport. Make that an integer. Alright, so here's an example of where we can get and set variables. There's kind of four functions, and I don't know if they'll show up in here if I oh yeah, there we go. So get control value, set control value, get control attribute, and set control attribute. For the list box, for instance, if I want to well, what we do want to do is get a control. The panel handle is what panel, what dialog screen, because you could have several panels, create several panels, which one it belongs to, the ID of the control in that panel, and the last bit is the value. And if you want to, for instance, we'll be adding some text into our status box, we'll use set control value, and for dimming and undimming we'll use the get and set control attributes for those open and close buttons. But just here we'll put in get control value. The return for get control value is going to be whether the get was successful or not. I'm going to, just for the moment, assume that the get is successful. That's a bit dangerous, but I'm just going to assume that for this example. So I haven't really talked about how you know what the panels are. under the project, I'll add a folder called include files, and right click on that and we'll add existing file. And there's a H file for I mean really that should be test5 main.h, but it's already been created, so I'll just use that. And I'll click on that, and probably, yeah, you'll see it's already been added into our test5 main.c, this test5.h, so if you do rename it, you'll have to change it in here as well. But in here are a bunch of defines, enumerations for the main panel itself, and then also each control element on that panel. So if you're not sure what you need to put in those get and sets, you can find them in here. And if you've given your controls, you know, some, except that I haven't done that for the command buttons, have I? I'll go back and do that. Actually, let's do that before we continue. I should have done that. It's moving on a bit too fast. Okay. If I go back to the H file now, they should have changed. Right. Comport open and close, but the define enumerations should still be the same. Alright. Because of these the way they are, I mean, I guess if you're clever, it's probably better if you use some other way of putting them into an array. But if you want to step through, and you know the defines, you could start at 14 and just +1, +1, +1. And if you wanted to change a bunch of attributes, or if you wanted to grab the data from a whole bunch of boxes and put them into an array or something like that. You can go in there and have a look at the define values, and but that's a bit dangerous if you end up changing something. So get control value. The main panel name at the moment is just panel, and I would like to get the value integer that's been selected in the list box, the comport list. And I need to put in the address. Let's copy it. The address of the variable that I need to paste that, well, not paste it, copy it into. Okay. Also in here we'll have a comport open error, and we'll put that here. So I'll be using the return from the open config to decide whether you know what to do. If it was successfully opened or not, we'll do different things. Alright, so the port number, we should now have that in iSelected port if that get was successful, but I think it will be. Device name, I'm not giving it a device name. The baud rate, I didn't talk about that before, but I've made it 2400. The parity is going to be 0, but if you want to have a look at what the values possible values are. It doesn't really show here what the possibilities are, but anyway, none odd even mark space. So I imagine that's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think, but you should look that up. Data bits are going to be 8 and the stop bits are going to be 1 in my setup on the Arduino. And I can leave these as longer queues, but they don't really need to be that big. What did they have them as in their example? 512. Well, just so not to upset the apple cart, I'll leave them as 512. Alright, that's fine. No, it doesn't say it here. I mean, if you want to go and have a look though, any negative number is going to be a fail on the return for opening up the COM port. So if it's greater or equal to 0, then we have some success. Otherwise we've got some failure. I'll do a set control value on the panel and the COM port status. And in fact I can put in here percent. Should be able to put in a %d. I don't know if I have to format that first. We'll see what it says. Otherwise we'll just say COM port open. We'll also add another variable here, because I think it's difficult to poll for whether the COM port is available or not. And maybe once upon a time that didn't matter so much with a a serial card that you couldn't unplug, but these days with Ethernet to serial and USB to serial, COM ports can disappear. And although this won't help with that, I'll at least have some. I just want to know whether I think the COM port was open or not. So I'm just going to put in a open COM port status, and I'll just make it 1 for whether I think it's open and a 0 for when if I think it's closed. Okay. So if I think it opened, I'll make that a 1. I won't make it a 0 for COM port open fail, because it may be that I can't open the COM port because it's already open or something like that, even if I've dimmed or undimmed buttons. Something might have screwed up. But here at the very least I want to know Might have to widen our status box. So I'll do a static message there, but I'll also let's get rid of all of that. So if it didn't open, we should have received something in the COM port error integer, and that'll be a number depending on what sort of failure it was. And we can get an error string. So I should be able to just pop that in there and put in the integer for why it didn't open. Okay, and that should come up with a meaningful string that we can have in our status box for whether it opened or closed. I'll also put in here set control. What did we say it was? Set control attribute. Set control attribute panel, and this one's we'll do one for open and one for close. Now the attribute, I'll probably have to go look that up. Don't know. It's like something like attribute dimmed or something like that. Maybe there might be a link to list of control attributes. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, that's what I was looking for. Attribute dimmed. So attr underscore dimmed. And because the attribute is dimmed, I want the open to be dimmed, but we also need to put one in there for the close button to enable it, and make it not dimmed. And I'll just double check that my COM port close. Yeah, that's the name of the close control. Alright. I'll build this and see what errors I've got. Okay, we need to include the rs232.h. Okay. That looks like I've put a period instead of a comma. That one I've done the same thing somehow. Okay, build succeeded that time. And execute. Now I know that my COM port is on COM port 3. Ooh. Line 49, column 78. Oops. You don't know why I did that. Yes, close the program. Something about... Let's just put a breakpoint before we open the COM port, and I'll also go to the Arduino and just see if COM3, that's the potentiometer value. Okay, so COM3 is working, and I don't think I have it open. Something about a value, I think, in the open config that it didn't like. So I'll debug and get it to stop there and see. Okay, so at this point we've done the get control value, so just mouse over. Okay, so it knows it's COM port 3. Just double check port number, device name, baud rate, parity, data bits, stop bits, queue size. Unless I've done a it may not have been that bit that I had a problem with, but okay. Yeah, it might have been this part that it had a problem with. Maybe I was saying I'm not sure if I can do formatted text here. Yeah, okay, that was the runtime error. I'll take that out. I guess you could do an sprintf and then copy that into the window if you wanted to. Otherwise, I will terminate that, and I'll just take that out. But there's obviously other ways that you can add in a message if you want to specify which COM port it was that opened. Alright, just rebuild that, and I'm confident enough to just execute. Alright, COM port open, and we haven't done close yet, so the only thing I can do is quit. Alright. Come down to the COM port, close COM port pressed, and So I'm only going to go through with this if I think the comport was already open. And for close com, all we have to do is specify which comport. But we will. Oops, I'm just copying like a monkey. Where is it? The other thing that we forgot to do up here was after we've successfully opened the comport, I want to save the selected comport as the opened comport. Alright. So that when we go to close it, I'll select the correct comport. There's something else that we need to do in here, which is to add a error variable return for the close com. And do a very similar thing that we did before. If it's greater or equal to 0, then we've successfully closed the comport, and we can do some things like say that the comport is closed, and we can cheat a little bit by grabbing copy paste from above. And we'll swap these around so that when it closes, that open is enabled and closes a disabled button. And just another percent there. Yeah, we've got to take that out for the fails as well. I'll just change the wording of that. I don't want those messages too long, because otherwise I've got to make that status box a lot wider. But I also want to make them meaningful. Okay. I'll run that. Just as a bit of an example here, I'll click on a COM port that I can't open because it doesn't exist, and I do need to widen this status box. And I also have forgotten, I'll just close this and add it in, also forgotten that for these messages, well, I'm not sure about the formatted error string, but certainly for my ones, I'm going to have to add in okay, that's better. And see what I can do with this status box to widen it. Might have to widen that whole area later. Okay, well, I won't worry too much about aesthetics at the moment. Let's get on with this bit. Okay, do that again. I'll open COM5, which I know doesn't exist. Failed to open COM port. That's my message, and the message that came from the system was no port found. So the COM port didn't open, and the reason was that it doesn't believe that there's a COM port 5, and that's correct, there isn't. And you'll see that the open button has stayed enabled because we haven't opened the COM port. So COM3 does exist. COM port open, the open button is dimmed, the close button is now enabled, and if I close that, COM port closed, dimmed, and enabled. Right. Okay, well, that's pretty good so far. That'll be the second video. I think I might be able to polish off the rest in a third video, so keep a lookout for that.